Ghosts may appear in many forms. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you hear them, and sometimes you might just feel them. This is a true story of a family haunting like never before. If you're joining me for the first time, I want to welcome you to the Dark Past, where you will be enjoying amazing true stories from the past and from around the world. So please do sit back, relax, and enjoy today's story. During the summer of 1998, there was a family in search of a new home. The family consists of parents Sean and Bonnie with their two teenage daughters, Frances and Jennifer, and their young son, Jeremy Beckwith. The parents have worked so hard over the years and have decided to buy a house that would have enough space to occupy the whole family. In their search for a new home, they finally found one that has been on the market for over a year for a very low price, which caught their attention, and it seemed too good to be true. So they decided to purchase the home. They were all excited about their new home, except for one, the oldest of the children. She felt as if something wasn't just sitting right with the house and wanted to have no part in it. But her mother had a pep talk with her, saying that it was just a house and you haven't seen it yet. She eventually agrees to go in with them. While the parents were touring the house with the real estate agents, the kids were also running around exploring the massive 19th century building, as the house is huge. When the tour was done, the parents called for a meeting to decide if they should go ahead with the purchase. Everyone was in support except for Frances, who says the house is evil and she doesn't want to live in it. It was her against four, so the decision was made to go ahead with the purchase. Weeks later, they moved into their new home to begin a fresh new start. Once they moved everything inside, allocating their new bedrooms, and feeling happy and excited with everyone getting their own space, and as the first day comes to an end, they are all settled to sleep for the night. Something sinister lurked within the dark. It all started with the little boy, Jeremy, who suddenly wakes up to a loud banging noise inside his room. As his eyes search around the room in the darkness, he begins to hear a chorus of whispers seemingly coming from all directions in the room. He is so terrified that he rushes out to his parents' room to wake them up. Bonnie explains to him that it's a new home and environment and the house is big, that's why he's scared. She calms him down, escorts him back to his room, tucks him into bed, and she then heads back to her room to sleep. Later that same night, Jeremy is once again jolted awake by a loud banging noise in his room. He wakes up and grabs the flashlight which his mom told him earlier to use if he feels scared, by turning on the green light and any monsters in there will go away. So as he turns on the green tinted light into the corners of his room to make the monsters go away, there was a massive shadow that interrupts the light. This turns the young boy into a terror frenzy as he dives into his sheet with his protective flashlight. As he's under his sheet, trembling, trying to come to terms with what was happening, his sheet was forcefully pulled off him and thrown by the window in his room. He screams into the void. Whatever this thing was, it knew what it was doing, because night after night, at around 11 p.m., it would visit Jeremy for weeks, tormenting the poor boy. In weeks to come, this entity targeted other members of the family as well. Jennifer was next on his playlist. One evening, while she was brushing her hair in front of a huge mirror, she is interrupted by the sounds of whispers coming from behind her, and as she turns around, she was met with silence and sees nothing. She feels as if she's being watched. Not wanting to admit to it or get scared, she just writes it off. Later that night, as she sleeps in her bed, she too is jolted awake, but for a very different reason than her younger brother was. Her entire bed is shaking, and as she begins to feel a fist hit her through the mattress. This is something that should be impossible. It was as if someone or something is punching her through the bed itself. As she scrambles off the bed, she glances underneath it and sees nothing. She knew what she just experienced would be hard to explain to anyone. So for now, she decides not to tell anyone until she has enough proof to explain what just happened to her. She then moves the bed to a different position, thinking that it will solve the strange situation. 2 nights after Jennifer's experience, she's laying in bed, talking to a friend on the phone, when suddenly her bed starts to shake yet again. She's so scared that she couldn't speak again, frozen in shock and watching as her bed continues to shake while her friend kept on talking at the other end of the phone. Suddenly, the shaking stops. She hardly slept that night. The following morning, she heads to her mother's bedroom to tell her mother of her ordeal. Bonnie thought this was some kind of a joke, but when Jennifer began crying, she then took her serious. Not knowing how to handle the situation, she calls for a family meeting in their living room. Bonnie tells everyone about Jennifer's experience and asks if anyone else has been seeing or hearing things they can't explain. And surely enough, almost everyone starts pouring out their hearts of various experiences they have been keeping to themselves. She knew this couldn't be a coincidence, that something was wrong with their house. This made the whole family really scared, not knowing what they were dealing with or how to deal with it. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lauren Warren were called in to help. Immediately, Lauren stepped into the house. She said she felt a very heavy feeling, almost smothering, very uncomfortable to experience. Going through the house, she unknowingly stepped into Jennifer's room and suddenly stopped by a flashing image in her mind, which is the image of a demonic creature. She then feels like the room is the origin of the heaviness in the house, that something dark has taken place there, leading to many occurrences of violence within its walls. She later on told the family that their home is infested with very strong demonic entities. Bonnie and Sean suggested moving out, but the Warrens advised them not to, because it's very likely that the demons will follow them once they stepped into their car and drove off. Their best option was to stay and fight. It was decided that they needed more evidence, so they know what they were up against. So they suggested keeping cameras close to their beds and to snap photos whenever they felt like something wasn't right or an activity was beginning. Later that year, in November, Bonnie's mother visited for Thanksgiving. She has been informed about the activities in their home, but she still chose to come and visit. They spent the whole day together. Then came nighttime and the family retired to their bedrooms. After Bonnie's mother took her medication, she decides to watch television for some time. Sitting on the edge of the bed watching TV, it suddenly turns off. She thought for a while that maybe something was wrong with the TV. She clicked it back on, and several minutes went by and all seemed fine. Then the TV shuts off again. Glancing at the TV as this happens, she sees in the reflection of the black screen 3 entities, but she couldn't make out their faces. She She moves to the left of her bed and face the direction they would have been. Instead of coming face to face with them, she's met with nothing. She doesn't see them, but she could feel their presence as every hair on her body is on end, as if electricity permeates the air. That night, she barely gets any sleep. She was so scared that she didn't even stay for the holidays. She left the following morning before the festivity began. Jennifer then decides to go take some pictures of the room she was staying in. The rest of the house was about 70 degrees, but upstairs felt like it was 35 degrees. It was freezing cold. She snaps several pictures and quickly gets out of the room. Several days later, the Warrens arrived for their second visit, accompanied by a crew to begin a proper investigation of the house to find out what was dwelling within its walls. Among the crew was the psychic medium named Leah. She was tasked with trying to make contact with whatever these entities were, what they wanted, and why they were there. The Beckwiths had already taken their son to go stay with a relative, but the two girls were allowed to stay and witness the experience. The Warrens took a look at the pictures the family had taken. At first, everything seemed fine until they got to one photo. Bonnie, who thought it was a glitch in the film, didn't think much of it, but Warren thought otherwise. I will be stopping here for today. Hope you are enjoying the story. If you are, please do not forget to give it a like and share it, which encourages me to bring you more interesting stories like this from around the world. And I don't know what media you are watching this with, but you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, and YouTube. And do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you. See you next time, and bye for now.